Team is to divert to 4677 Brookmere Road after you have eliminated the AAA.
Solid copy, Overlord. Divert to 4677 Brookmere Road once the guns are destroyed. Got it.
Check back with me when you've completed your main objective. Overlord out.
Ramirez, you gotta get run over. Get out of their way.
Squad, use your laser designators. Bring target for the striker. Team is to divert to 4677 Brookmere Road after you have eliminated the AAA.
Solid copy, Overlord. Divert to 4677 Brookmere Road once the guns are destroyed. Got it.
Check back with me when you've completed your main objective. Overlord out. All Hunter units, this is Badger 1, standing by to engage your targets, over. Badger 1, holding position. Use your laser designators. Take target for the striker.
To the west! Largest one on the block! Roger, tracking target.
All Hunter teams, this is Badger 1. Take the target, over.
They're in the driveway! I can't get a shot! Can't get a shot! It's out of my line of sight!
Let's go! Let's go! All Hunter units, this is Badger 1. Place the target, over.
East side of the street! Give me some cover and fire!
Let's go! Let's go!
Contact upstairs!
Move up! Use your designator. Raise targets for the striker.
Tracking target! Sprava! Sprava! Target! Front steps! Right mansion! Inside! Extra fire! Get a man down!
All Hunter teams,
laser designated to call in artillery on those vehicles.
Coordinates confirmed. Firing.
Ramirez, call artillery on the enemy. Use the laser designator. Ramirez, use your laser designator to call in artillery on those vehicles.
Prime mission received. Artillery inbound.
Overlord, Hunter 2-1 actual. AAA has been neutralized. We're heading to 4677 Brookmere Road. Interrogative. What exactly are we looking for? Over.
Sergeant Foley, this is General Shepard. Your objective is to extract a high-value individual from a panic room on the second floor of that house.
Yes, sir.
He'll be expecting you. Challenge is Ice Pit. Countersign is Phoenix. Get him out of there. Report back to Overlord. Shepard out.
All right. You heard the man. 4677 Brookmere Road. Move. Ice pick. Something's not right here. Check the panic room. Move. No sign of forced entry. Ramirez, get that briefcase. What's left of it?
Sarge, check out these tats. Not your average trooper, huh?
Good. Get a couple of photos for G2. And check the bodies for intel.
Who up?
Shepard's not gonna like this.